Continuing on with Lee's R&D session number 2. In this video, we're going to take a look at skeletoning in, that was a mouthful, the scrolling system of the patches, correctly?
Right. It's nothing really complicated. There's just a lot of it, and it'll be a lot easier if we approach it in a couple of different videos.
So before you even begin with the skeletoning in process,
hmm
talk about the scrolling once again. Remind
Okay.
everybody, what is it that you're looking to achieve?
All right. Well, like we said in the last video, as much as we'd like to be able to make the world a single patch, that isn't very optimal in this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct the world of many, many, many patches. And as the player runs through this world, as the player moves from, say, one row of patches into the next one, we're going to look how far out that person is from an edge of the visible patches and then make the determination if we need to load in another row of patches and then look behind the player and see if a row has gone past a certain distance. And if that's the case, remove those patches. And later on, as things get more complicated and we start bringing in the networking aspect of it, we'll even have to look further out in the distance and start prefetching information from the server that's going to be needed to draw the patches. They'll be not created at that point. We'll just let the server know, hey, we're going to need this information. It'll prefetch it and then save it until this system decides, okay, it's time to draw those patches. I've got this information. I need this row of patches, and go tell the train patch or this to go build me another row. And there'll be another set of methods most likely to handle this. Right now, just to keep it simple for R&D, I've got it rolled into the train demo class itself.
Okay.
So, shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Well, one of the things we're going to need to know, if you remember, we've got some magic numbers up here. And we've got a constant of 49
When you
and a
say up
space.
here, are you looking on your screen or
Hey, what do you know?
can't look at your notes? You got to look over at the screen that we're actually recording. There we
Oh,
go.
oh, well, we hardly don't show the mouse anyways.
Yeah, this is true.
So, matter of fact, we hide it on purpose to make it hard. Just in case they can't see the mouse, I'm going to highlight it. We've got these two sets of magic numbers. We've got a size and spacing. These are set to constants, and you can play with these to get the best results for your use. Well, I'm going to be able, or going to need to figure out how big a patch is at any given time, and I'm going to need that when calculating when it's time to load or remove the next row of terrain patches. So I'm going to need another property. So let's go ahead and build it. So we're going to get a public, and this is just going to be an integer. Well, I better make it a float because it is possible to have odd sizes. So we're going to make it a float, and we'll call this one patch size. Now, patch size is going to have a getter, and it's going to return our size times our spacing. And that's it. That's all it's going to do.
Okay.
So we're going to come back to the train demo and start skeleting in some other stuff. So let's go ahead and close this down for now. And like I said, create initial train. We're going to come back and make this a little bit more robust in the future, but for now we're just going to close it out so we can put some new methods in here. So go back to my notes so I can get my naming. I mean, my names are so awesomely cool that I don't want to, even miss a single one. So we're going to make a new private method. This is going to return a void. Handle terrain updates. I mean, how awesome of a name is that?
Oh yeah.
It gets better. So now we're going to handle our terrain updates, and our terrain updates are going to rely on some other methods. These methods are going to be private as well. They're going to return void, and They are ingeniously named scroll up. And most people probably already have the other four already skeleted in while I'm still trying to type. So we got scroll up, scroll down, scroll left, and scroll right.
Now, I was going to try to let this float out there as long as possible, see if you picked up on it. I like your scroll up, down, left, and right, but the problem I had with your handle terrain updates is it's Haddle. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I was just challenging people to see if they could figure it out.
I gotcha.
All right, so let's go ahead and go into update before I forget to do this and tell it to run handle updates. I'm not going to do anything because there's no code in it, but at least that'll be in there for when we get around to it. Now we need another property up here. Now this property is going to be the one that's going to help us determine when, where'd this come from? Go ahead and get rid of you for now. We need to be able to tell when we should start looking at loading a new row of patches or when we should remove an old row. To know that, we need to figure out where we are, our current patch location. Conversely, we also need to know the last patch we're in. So we need to, when we get into this, what we're going to do is we're going to look at our last patch location. We're going to look at our current one. And the moment that goes greater than 1, then we're going to know we need to start looking at loading and removing patches. So we're going to need a public, and let's do a wait for the lag so I can see it on my side, vector2. This is going to be our current patch location. And let it get caught up. This is going to be another read-only. So we're going to get, and what we're going to return is going to be a new vector2. And we're going to have to do some casting because vector2s, well, vector2s don't really need integers. They'll take floats, so I don't have to cast that. We need to look for our current position. Now, that means our player. We're using the third-person character system, so I can get that information by going to the TP controller, and I can bring up instance, and I can ask it, where are we? So I can get its transform position, and I can take its X position. And I can divide that by the property that we just created over in train patch, which is the train patch dot, did I not make it public, or is it just not picking up because I didn't build it? Public float patch size. So it probably just not picking up because I didn't build it. So I'll put it in here for now and come back after I build, and hopefully it'll get smart and figure it out. So
Well, were you intending on that to be a static?
Yeah, I didn't do that, did I? Yeah, that needs to be a static. Here, good call. Thank you.
It's all good.
I do want it to be static. And let's go ahead and put this next part in. Make it line up all nice and pretty. Make sure it's a Z instead of X, otherwise we'll get some really interesting results. We also need to be able to keep track of where we were last. So I'm also going to add a private vector2. And this one's just going to be a field. We're not going to make this a property. So we'll do last patch location. And for now, I'll just set it to be vector 2.0, just force a habit. So that will get our initial skeleton out. So if I build it, make sure there's no errors. No errors, good. So what we've got, and just prettify the code. So what we've got is the initial skeleton in place that'll allow us to come back, flesh out the functionality, which will allow us to start scrolling our terrain. And we'll handle that in the next video.
Okay, so that's pretty much everything that you wanted to get in place for the skeletoning, and so that's going to wrap it up. Thanks a lot, everyone.